Welcome back to Life, Biz and all that jazz. I'm your host, Jasmine Lashotto, and if you're new here, welcome. If you've come back again for more, thank you. Today is a very special day because I have my first guest speaker, and of all people, it's my favourite person in the whole wide world, my mum, Cindy. So we're going to be talking a lot about our growing up, how she dealt with a lot of things with my dad, with his struggles with bipolar, how she gained a lot of strength, to look after us children while she was navigating a lot of issues, and also just everyday life, having 4 children and just getting on with life. So without further ado, hi Mum.
Hi Jasmine.
Welcome to my podcast.
Thank you.
I'm really excited to have you on. For one, you're my first guest and you're the strongest woman I know. So I know that this is really going to benefit for the purpose of my podcast, and it's really always been about creating awareness and, shifting pain to purpose and allowing us to share our strength and resilience when sometimes it's not always easy to share, but also just to help other women, because I think what you've been through and how you are as a person is remarkable in a way, because no matter what has happened, you've always still been a good person, and you've kind of got on with things the best way that you could.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's true.
we'll go straight into the questions. We've prepared some questions pre-doing this for the fact that what we're going to talk about isn't always, it's not going to be easy, and we did some pre-planning, so that's always a good thing.
Yes.
But question number 1, do you want to share a bit more about your life before marriage, before kids? Like, what was it like growing up and your goals? What were your dreams and aspirations? Like, what did you love doing when you were a child? And about your
child, probably I was a bit of a tomboy. Used to like, doing things with my dad, garden, things like that. Just, with my siblings, growing up with them. We used to just play, in the yard, and we lived near a creek, and we used to go down there and, play with the neighbourhood children and things like that. Go on holidays at Christmas time.
Yeah. What about sports? You're pretty good at one certain sport.
I sort of like playing soccer.
Yeah.
And I played softball at school and other sports in high school.
And one fun thing, I think soccer too. That's why I always love soccer.
Yeah.
Mum and I actually played soccer together, and they used to think we were sisters, and it was always like a running joke.
Yes.
And I used to play up. I would get really, really excited because I played in the younger team, and we were allowed to play up in the all-age team, and that was really fun.
Women's team, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just enjoyed playing soccer a lot.
Yeah. And then,
And then just high school, teenage, hanging out on the weekend with my friends, going to the beach. We lived in the western suburbs, so the beach was a big trek. We'd leave at 7 a.m. in the morning.
it was a big day out, wasn't it? I remember when
we'd get the train to Central, and then we'd get the ferry to Manly. We used to go to Manly Beach a lot. Things like that.
Yeah.
Just hanging out, sleepovers.
Yeah.
Girlfriends, listen to
easy
music
life before technology.
during the 80s. So.
Yeah.
Or early 80s,
Yeah.
late 70s.
Yeah. And I think as well you've got a lot of strength from Nan.
Yeah, my mother was very strong.
Yeah. She showed you a lot.
Yeah. She was always a positive person, happy. Yeah, happy. And her family were the same.
Then you met Dad. You were 16.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Dad was a few years older. You met at a nice disco. I think it was always a nice little story at the start. Like you met.
Yeah, we met at a disco.
It was quite nice.
My best friend from school
Yeah.
was there, and we met some guys, and actually met her father, Gotsy, and it was good. We used to go out on weekends and go big night out to the city.
And lots of fancy
lived down in
dinners.
Fairfield, Western Sydney. So,
Yeah.
yeah, fancy restaurants.
And back then it was really, yeah.
Yeah, it was multicultural. So we'd try different restaurants.
Yeah.
Cuisine.
I remember looking back at photos and like you always just the style was so nice. Like
we used to dress up.
the 2 pieces, and they're so in now.
Yeah, and everyone used to make an effort. Like, you know, you dress up to go out. It was a big, you know, you'd start getting ready early in the afternoon or something. Yeah, it wasn't just...
Well, because it was more of a...
dress up, your makeup, your hair.
Stylish.
Yeah, very stylish. And, yeah, we went to some lovely places with friends.
When you first were together with Dad, what were moments that stand out in your relationship? Like, with Dad? Like, what was it what were you drawn to? And
He was a gentleman, nice, kind. He had a lovely family.
Yeah,
they made me feel very welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, most things were nice. We used to go out, you know, things.
Yeah.
Got to go with my family.
Yeah.
We all went out for birthdays and things. Yeah.
At what point did you kind of start to notice things shift in the relationship in regards to Dad's mental health?
Probably looking back, he used to get like, you know, sometimes he'd lose his temper a little bit, sort of thing. Yeah. Get a bit frustrated.
Yeah. Yeah, like that was...
But he had it, so he was, like he worked for himself, so sometimes I suppose I thought it was, you know, he had a lot of pressure from that sometimes, I suppose. And, and sometimes he let me down, like we were supposed to go somewhere and then he changed his mind. Most of the time it wasn't too bad, like, you know.
Yeah. And do you know, like, what do you feel like happened in that way? Like he was just not there, not present, or...
Maybe probably not as present.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just kind of like dealing with his own stuff, but not really sharing
but we were
it.
still young, and so he's, you know, we were still young, like, so you probably wanted to hang out with the guys sometimes and things like that.
Yeah. I think as well too is like it's very obvious, like it happens a lot, is that when someone is dealing with something or, you know, their own thing, and we always tend to take it out on the people close to us.
Yes,
and
that's right.
And the closest ones are the ones that really suffer. Once you got married, and how did his mental health struggles start to affect you when, you know, you were a wife and then us kids come along, and what kind of did you feel like you had to change, or did you just kind of went on with it, or how did that make you feel?
I suppose I went on with it, but then I was more sort of didn't get the support. Like I was on my own a lot. Like, where instead of being together in the evenings, he might have gone out or something, and I was home with the kids, younger. Yeah, and it's just like, you're a family, but you feel like, you know, like, it's all on my shoulders sort of thing. And then
a lot of weight
to
deal with.
But I was happy, you know, like to be a mother, and, you know, I loved it. But, it's like you're married, but, like, you know, when you get married, you should be, you know, maybe home more and things like that.
More, like partnership.
Yeah,
50-50. Yes, definitely.
Maybe it was like, and then after, like, the struggle, like, we bought the house and, you know, bills not getting paid, and, but he was working all the time, but then it was working out that, you know, the money was going somewhere else. So.
Yeah, and that's
why things weren't getting,
And that's when he was gambling, and that was like his addiction to gambling started.
Must have started then.
Yeah.
Because before that,
married for a few years?
Yeah, a few years. And then that changed, and then that was the decision he made, because, you know, to move up the coast.
Yeah, that's when we moved there, and then that was even harder for you, I guess.
Financially,
because that was excluded you away from your family.
Yeah, so it was isolating. I was isolated away from everyone, my friends, family.
Were there obviously the years are going on, we're growing up, you've got 4 kids, you know, I always look back at my childhood and there's so many great memories. I know we obviously saw Dad going through his battles, and, you know, there was times that we just didn't know what was going to happen, and, you know, what mood and stuff like that. And we can obviously, now we look back and we see it all very clear. Were there times that you felt like that you needed to protect us from certain realities? Because I feel like at a point that it got to a point where we could notice, or definitely myself and like Tim being a bit older. Yeah.
As you're growing up, of course you noticed. Different things.
Was there certain things that you felt like you did to protect us from seeing things, or
Well, there's probably a lot of things that I didn't say that were going on. I'd probably
But when we were younger, like, 'cause I
sugarcoated
feel
a
like,
little bit.
yeah.
And
Then you sometimes the arguments we would see the arguments though as well.
yeah,
So,
of course, because we were there, and
yeah.
probably, like we just,
But
we didn't have that understanding not to say it in front of you, but it just happened, and we were both probably hot-headed, and
Yeah.
it's hard to hide it, I suppose.
Yeah, you get to a point where it's kind of more comfortable.
Yeah, and
Don't
I was on there,
realise the
and
impact.
usually your father was still working in Sydney, so I was on my own during the week, and
Yes.
we sort of had a different life then, a different time. Or we were on our own, it was quiet, and then he'd come home on the weekend and things will change, or if he was in a mood that was
And then
happy, and if he'd been gambling, he would be upset.
Yeah.
He felt bad after that.
and then
That gets him down because, he's lost money like anybody does when things aren't going right.
And do you feel like, because obviously with the bipolar, it was like, the highs were really high, and when it was really good, it was always really good.
Yeah,
Now we didn't really know then, but
No,
I
no.
can just see the patterns.
Yeah.
Thinking of,
And then when it was down,
bad, he'd sometimes it was,
Yeah.
and he just didn't
And
know
that's
how
when
to
he'd come
express
out
it.
with things that were, nasty things he'd say. Things like that.
But I think as
Just
well,
not turning up for special occasions when, we're waiting for him to come home and things like that.
yeah,
He didn't turn up, and that was disappointing for you children, and which I could see that. And that hurt me, because whatever happens to your children hurts you.
yeah, yeah.
So,
And I think it's just too, like, there's just we see it so much more clearly now that we've obviously done our own work and,
and you're an adult.
healing and just how much it affects. You mentioned before about, like, support. You didn't feel like you had the support you needed. What would have helped you then? If you could change, go back, what would you have done differently to get more support, reach out more?
Probably reach out more to family and friends.
Yeah.
And to maybe persuade Grazie, just call him, that's what I call him, your dad.
Yeah, dad. You can say whatever.
That, to get help, even though he did say he started to go to Gamblers Anonymous and things like that.
Yeah.
To get help, more help like that. And maybe, the mental health side of it. I tried to understand it. But
Because it was really taboo back then.
It was very hard because I had to do, like everything was on my shoulders, so I helped. So,
and you're just trying to keep the house together.
and when he went into a hospital when I was there, on my own, and I didn't work at that time, so
Because that was the first time
I was trying to keep things together and just, go take, your brother was playing soccer, he had a special soccer camp, so we'd go there and just, act like everything's normal. And,
and that would have been really hard to bury. You had to bury a lot of stuff and pretend.
Even my family, they didn't know things was as bad as they were.
And that's really hard.
And I
to
wish
think.
probably, outreach to them. But I spoke to my mum and,
Nan was
later
very-
on when I was decided to leave. I said,
Because I think that's
just
as well.
thought of you and kids, and I thought of our future, and I thought, we can't keep going like this. He promised to, you want a better life and you believe in someone, and then when they keep letting you down,
I think as well, it's
just sort of give up.
like what you mentioned about not reaching out for help it's just so common. We kind of just don't. And for myself, and I've earlier episodes.
In a way, you're embarrassed that you can't,
it's your life.
you can't cope, and you don't want everyone to know your business, because I'm a very private person, and I don't like that. Like, people judge you.
Yeah.
They don't understand. And they judge you for, been a lot through that after the fire.
And that's it's hard to, now I know it's a lot different, and I know even myself, like me going through my struggles, the last couple of years and just kind of dealing with it on my own, not because I didn't have the support, but because I just didn't want to burden anybody.
No.
But then I eventually opened up and I was like, I've got a problem, like I need to deal with this. And I think there's just so much awareness out of that. Now that's something that you obviously different, because we have such different relationship. We're like more your friends now. So if we're going through stuff, we talk more.
I have to understand your side of it too. Like, that, he he's always your father first, and that's it, no matter what.
Yeah, but you've always been, you've always supported that, and you never stopped us having a relationship with him. And you always wanted the best.
Sort of in a way, he did what he did, but that's something that a split second that
Yeah,
and then we know that he was sorry for that, but we moved on. And I had to forgive him because like people have said to me, "Oh, how could you forgive him? How could you ever see him?" And I said, "Well, he's their father, and not forgiving him's not going to help. Like, it's me. It's not going to help me move on." And that helped me move on.
And at the end of the day, it was.
And I have to move on and just think of my life. He had an illness, and which is so much more understood now.
I know.
20 years later.
Hard. Yeah. Yeah, well, a bit more than 20 years, 22 years since the fire. All right. So is there anything that you wish you knew more about back then, about like mental health or relationships, resilience? Did you feel like, if there's something something now, if you could tell your younger self back then,
probably to learn more about mental illness and to be more not patient, because I think I was patient enough, and just to understand more about it. And ask for help, help for myself and like both of us together.
Relationships.
Yeah, we did go through relationship counselling for a little bit.
So I think the first time I remember, and I talked about this in my story podcast, the earlier episodes, is you. So I think I was like 12, and Dad, that's when he went into the hospital. That was like kind of the first time that he tried to attempt suicide. Was it the highway thing or something?
Yeah, something.
We all went to Sydney.
Yeah, we went to Sydney.
And then he went in. That's when he went to an institution, and he was there for a while.
What happened?
Yeah. So what
happened?
Did he have to go there? No,
more about how.
Like, what was going through your mind then? Did you think that he was going to get the right help? You thought, all right, he's going to a hospital for his mental health. Is this going to help him?
Well, because the incident that happened was pretty scary and very angry, yelling. And
I remember.
At me, very yelling at me.
He came into,
very upset.
And he didn't, every time he was in
and it was very, that's scary. I've never seen him like that before, and that was very scary.
That was the first time I remember him being like that too.
And then he went to the hospital, and he was there for a few weeks, and then he ended up, and he didn't come home. He let to live with his brother for a few months.
So I just don't feel like he got the right help then. That could have been a real pivoting point.
It could have.
Like, they didn't diagnose him with bipolar. How did they miss that?
He was on medication after, but I don't know if it was bipolar.
We didn't get diagnosed with bipolar till after the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was very close to before he...
Yeah, it was probably just like, met something and he depressed or something, and then that's... Yeah.
And I think that's always been like the hardest thing for me, is like just seeing all this happen already before it got to a point where there was no turning back. And like it's always hard for me to think about, and that's why I want to share more about this now, because what we're sharing could help people before it gets to a point where they can't come back from it, or they lose their parent, father or wife, or like child. It's like these are signs that should have, and it's nobody's. We can't go back, but all we can do is share.
It's very hard, and it's hard to change somebody. They don't want to change.
Yes,
they don't want to stop gambling. They don't want to stop, the other things, smoking marijuana, whatever.
And I think that was a big thing too. So he started
the marijuana,
and you noticed that.
More after we got married, I suppose, but more
because it's mind altering. It's very mind altering, and some people
come back to live with, like after that episode, he come back home and to live with us, and he wasn't able to work or anything because
I think some people can smoke it and be fine.
It is mind altering,
but some people can't.
Yeah, and that highs and lows too, and with bipolar, it probably made it worse.
It would have fueled it.
I don't know exactly, but yeah.
I think it just depends. It's type of like any type of substance or drugs or anything, especially with alcohol.
He was probably more calm at home because he wasn't.
Another thing too, I feel like every time I don't know if he was drinking the night before the fire, But like you said, like that time, and then before he passed, actually, like that, the last time he tried, he was drinking wine. And for me, like when I've had alcohol and been down, like that's when you're at your worst times, and you're thinking, your thought patterns are
Yeah, of course. You just, and especially if you're alone and you're thinking